Steelseries Arctis Nova Pro. This is the first one in South Africa. And all I can say is Game DAC is back. Good afternoon and welcome to Turbo Tortoise Tech. If you're new here, I'm Reese of the 4-piece variety WookiE XXXL. And yeah, Arctis Nova Pros, kind of sick, really high-end audio system from Steelseries with an all-new shape and feel and leatherette ear cups and replaceable parts even, that do customizable booster packs, all kinds of nice and wonderful things coming out with the next generation and truly taking it into a phase of proper high-end audio. These are things that we're used to in the space of high-end audio for basically the last decade. And gaming really hasn't caught up to a lot of these tropes, but Steelseries is making a really good effort here. Now, this is not their first attempt, which would already put them slightly ahead of the curve. 9Hs and stuff from back in the day did have that sort of capability, but the volume levels, honestly, especially on all the series, was quite underwhelming. Having tested 9H wirelesses, and a friend of mine actually having an internet cafe that was sponsored by Steelseries back in the day, shout out Hive Days, he got the best of the best. And I was incredibly underwhelmed by the volume. Everything else was pretty good. The audio quality, the sound positioning and stuff were all decent and generally pretty impressive, especially for gaming audio manufacturers. They definitely just don't hit that audiophile Sennheiser HD 599 sort of series or HD 650 sort of levels, but those are like $6.5 grand, plus you need like a DAC, etc. Even 599s or 4K these days, you're going to need a DAC on top of that to take real advantage of it. So they're going for a package that sort of checkbox all of that just in a box, and it's a bit more fire and forget. And what they've done is they've made it multi-platform compatible. So it doesn't just work with your PC, it can work with your PS4 and your Nintendo Switch simultaneously. And then the headset themselves can also work with your mobile products. So it's kind of checkboxing a lot more range than you would get from just a standard audiophile sort of setup. So let's start off with what's in the box. Well, obviously you get the headset itself with adjustable headband, nice leatherette ear cups, and then a detachable cable for it. It's a tripole setup, so it's got the mic and the headset controls all built into one cable, which is then nice for your mobile products. They've also done a slightly slanted setup for it. So you can see it's got like almost a right angle, not quite, setup on that, and that's actually for the DAC, which we have over here. So this is then the DAC itself. The volume button is as satisfying as you can imagine. Then you get two USBs for it, Type-Cs as well, that they peter out to. They are labeled as well with the traditional Steelseries logos, so you won't have to go hunting to find which is your Steelseries cable, which I kind of like. The reason they give you two of these is because the DAC has dual output. Then you've got a pop filter, which comes for your microphone. You don't really need to use it, but it is kind of a nice to have, and the retractable mic comes out of the ear cup like that, and then you can insert the pop filter over the top just like that. Quick mic check. This is the mic raw into the system without the pop filter, and then I'm just going to add the pop filter to it so you can see sort of on a live demo. It does make a bit of a difference. It does help with plosives. Obviously, pop filters are nice to have, but if you don't have it on hand, it's not going to ruin the experience. It's basically a chat microphone, but let me just throw a couple filters at it and you can see the difference. Alrighty, so now it's through NVIDIA Broadcast with the headset. You could just see how much noise cancellation and echo reduction and stuff the software does. I just find it absolutely fantastic. It's really nice and easy, fire and forget stuff. But back to the review. Then they give you this really nice carry bag. And this is where it's sort of double life comes in. If you wanted to take the DAC with you with a USB cable and with the audio cable, tuck the microphone in, everything will actually fit into this bag pretty damn comfortably. So it's definitely got a double life here as being a travel sort of product that you can take with you, maybe to gaming events and stuff, and then just connect up, and everything that you need should be on your DAC as by default. It should just plug and play in most systems. You will need to install the software if you want to do customization inside the software suite, and if you want to do the firmware upgrade as well. Now, taking a closer look at the headphones themselves, this is where some of that customization and stuff is coming in, and I really love this from Steelseries. The headband is replaceable. You can buy just a straightforward new set, or if you buy the booster packs, you can get replaceable ear cups as well with them, so you can customize it to your color. These are just magnetically attached on the side, and they don't really affect the audio in any way. It's literally just for some look and feel customization. So there's many Arctis Nova Pros, but this is my set, which is kind of a nice touch. But the main thing with it is, these sort of parts do decay over time because they're moving parts. They're going to stretch and strain, change with going from hot, cold, etc. through the seasons. They are going to age. But now you could simply get a replacement set of leathered ear cups for your high-end headset. So you're not just buying it once off and in 4 years' time, when these things start to peel, you're going to throw them away. Steelseries now has spare parts so that all of those breakable or replaceable pieces you can, and that's exactly what I've experienced previously with Sennheiser HD 5 series sort of headsets, is that you can then replace the parts, which made them a lot better for a long-term sort of purchase. And now these are exactly in line with that, which is exactly where you need to be. But let's look at the controls and the usage and the system that they've created over here now. So on the right-hand ear cup, there's nothing, no real controls or anything. It's just a normal sort of swivel side-based ear cups that it can contour to the head. And then it's got a little bit of back and forth. I think they didn't want to give it too much on this series. If you just look at that, it's probably going through, what, 3 to 4 degrees. It's not a lot. I don't think they wanted to give it a lot of that because of the shape that they've gone for this isolation sort of effect that it creates, where it pushes onto the head. The actual squeeze from it is pretty tight for a big head like mine. I did find it started to fatigue me after a few hours. I'd give it about 4 or 5, and then the pressure was just a little bit much. So I think that's a bit of a miss for people with bigger heads. I tried it in every single position. I tried it with moving the headband up, which actually made it worse. It was actually better when the headband was lower down. The fit, so the fit is okay. I'd give it a 7 sort of out of 10 for big head. If you don't have an East Island head, you should be absolutely fine. The cushions are very nice and soft. That's the only reason that I feel like it didn't fatigue over time, was that the cushions were pretty good. I did have a little bit of contact inside with the ear as well, on the inside over here, but it wasn't enough that it made me feel like it was awkward and awful. But then we move on to the left side ear cup, where you have your audio input for this headset. You have your retractable microphone, which comes out of the side like that. And then you've got a volume control over here. And that's independent to the headset itself. So that will work like with your mobile products, with your phones, and any triple pole setup will be able to interface with that quite nicely. So even if you wanted to plug it into a laptop, a lot of laptops have 2-in-1 ports these days as well. It would actually work pretty nicely over there. Then you've got a mic mute button, which is also independent to the headset. So all of that can work independently of itself from the DAC. But then we get to the DAC, and this is where the usage scenario becomes so unique. So you will have a picture on your screen now of the back of this unit. You'll see there's 2 USB inputs, and that's because you can switch between them on the actual LCD screen that will be on your screen now at the front. You can then switch between those 2 different modes or 2 different inputs straight on the fly from the DAC, which is really nice. No touching any cable whatsoever. You're just going to hit a button and you'll be able to switch between the 2 different outputs. So if you've got it connected to your PlayStation, or you've got it connected to your PC or Nintendo or whatever else in between, it's a click of a button away. Really nice to have. Then there's a line in and a line out. So the line in can be used if you've got a high-end sound card and you want to put it through the DAC for even better performance. You could do that. The DAC itself is a digital audio converter, so it's got its own preamp and everything inside of this very quite sleekly presented unit, I have to say. Nice rubberized base. All the right things from Steelseries there once again. Then you've got a line out. All right, and the line out you can then put into things like speakers, and this line out is has absolutely no amplification on it, which is perfect because you don't really want to preamp to like powered speakers or something like that. You want it to just go straight through so that it doesn't interfere and like over amp to the actual then maybe secondary amplifier and cause some other issues. So that's just a straight throughput. Then on the left hand side is where you connect the headset. It's actually marked like that. I didn't see that initially and I plugged it into the line out and I was like, this thing is not working. It's like I was throwing the volume and nothing was happening. So that line out is completely independent, even when it's on the DAC mode. So even if you have it USB, the line out is dependent on the Windows system volume. It actually has nothing to do with the DAC's amp itself. So it's literally just a pass-through, which is exactly what you want it to be for those noted issues that I presented to you earlier. Then the headphone jack, like I said, that's where the volume control, the equalizer, etc., all apply to that headphone jack. And it's obviously not limited to one set of headphones. You can actually plug in other headsets and stuff to this with varying results, obviously, because it's expecting a tripole sort of setup. So if you use a normal dipole setup, maybe it's probably not going to work very well. But the effect that you get from having the DAC is not underrated. I connected these to my phone. I've got an S9, which has got a pretty good sound card in it still for a phone. And it did power these basically to full, but there was a noticeable audio improvement from having the DAC. Obviously, it's just more sound isolation and quality, refinement because it's going through more audio processors. It's just always going to be better. So what was it like to use these for gaming, etc.? It was actually pretty damn good. For audio positioning, it was exceptional. That is what they've sought out here. This is probably the best imaging I've heard underneath like HD 800s or HD 650s, which already just a set of HD 650s is going to cost you what this entire kit costs you, and you're going to need a DAC and an amp and all of that kind of stuff. The audio quality is obviously not going to be as good as that because there is some virtualization going on here. As much as I tried to disable it, disabled all the audio enhancements in Windows for the DAC, etc., it just constantly does that sort of virtualization. So it does have areas where it's maybe not ideal, where the game is kind of like fighting against that virtualization in a way, but the audio positioning is like, what? If I gave this set to Kaz, he would literally be able to shoot people without opening his eyes. We always call him the audio boss. He hears things in bushes like from miles away. It's hilarious, especially when you're playing like Tarkov and stuff. He's like really good with that. It's quite funny. He sniffs at people with his audio. And if I gave him this set and he was playing CSGO, for instance, which actually has really good audio positioning, he'd probably be able to shoot you with his eyes closed. That's how good the audio positioning is on these. Another thing with them, based on their tone, is they have certain areas that are marked up that are really appealing to the ear. And if you like house or hip hop music, or stuff with a bit of bass, these are going to be absolutely exceptional for that. Unlike open backs that tend to have a drop off on the bass range, which is just normal with how they function, these do not have any of those sort of issues. The DAC and the audio that I set up on the EQ for it, I actually picked up the high end a little bit. The mid-range is not warm. I would say it's very clinical. It is a very clinical digital sort of audio that comes from these, but obviously in gaming, that's absolutely wonderful. So, and certain, like I said, certain media applications, it's exceptionally good. The one thing I will say for them that they kind of I wish was better was the voice area for me, like listening back to like voiceovers and stuff, or to commentary stuff on YouTube, etc. I found them a little bit weaker there because they don't have that sort of warm mid-range. Overall though, this package is pretty damn good at the money, and like I said, where imaging is concerned, they're almost unbeatable at the price. There's nothing I've tested that can compare as far as audio imaging and positioning and stuff goes. These are like the pinnacle from Steelseries. It is definitely their magnum opus. The overall build quality is pretty damn good. I think a lot of the portion of this price is obviously going towards the DAC system and the amp and everything that is here. This is probably at least half of what you're paying for in the kit, and the pricing also should improve in the near future. I got some word from Steelseries South Africa where they said that they just got the first stock in as soon as possible so that people could buy if they wanted to right off the bat, but you should see about a 10% price drop in the next month or two as well as we go past Comic-Con kind of phase. expect like October, November, even towards the end of the year, that these will become about $5,500. And they do come with 2-year warranty as well, unlike the American market, which has a 1-year warranty. I don't know why Steelseries opted to do that, just to hurt our brains, but it's fine. We get the 2-year warranty in South Africa. Anywho, that is all I have for you on the Arctis Nova Pros. If you have enjoyed this review, please do hit us up with a like and subscribe, and I will see you on the flip side.